No, pues there was this amusement park that supposedly was closed down because lots of bad accidents would happen in the amusement park, and there had been so many reports that the customers and clients and visitors of the amusement park were not satisfied with the amusement park, and so I started to look into stories and images and um, biography of books and stories and portfolios and documentary profiles and everything of scary acquaintances and scary stories and scary experiences of other people who have witnessed and experienced scary stories from the age of like 5 to the age of like 20. I was barely like the age of 18 when I was looking into the stuff. And well, I was there at a park, and me and my family and my friends from school, we would celebrate Easter every year. It wasn't always the same, but when you are a normal person, a normal student, you know the difference about being normal and not being normal when you are feeling sick or when you are feeling very different than usual. And well, we were celebrating Easter every year at school in elementary, and I graduated in 1997 in elementary. And well, we were at a park with the family, and traditionally we celebrate Easter in the month of April. And I just remember we were at some park, and we had lots of people that would follow us and go with us to the park, but it wasn't always the same people, because there was always different visitors and different people in the family that would go occasionally every year, once a year to celebrate. And traditionally, well, we celebrate with Easter eggs, and we do a few games of playing hide and go seek, or um, finding the eggs and checking to see who has found the eggs, and cracking open the eggs, and yeah. And so we were there at the park, right? And it was called the Ansalduas Park. And we were watching movies because my husband, he's from October, and I've always been a very big fanatic of trick-or-treating costumes, arts and craft activities in the classroom from pre-K all the way to fifth grade, and a little bit of sixth, seventh, and eighth grade only. In high school, we met like around the age of 16, 17, 18, before the age of 18, and he proposed to me before the age of 18. But we never told anybody the true story behind that, because we met in high school, and we were only together for a year or two. And we never had thought anything about the rock and roll music, or people who were gothic or depressive or emo or punk rock or modern rock or classic rock or 94.5, the rock station. We didn't think anything of it. We would just dress up, go for trick or treating, or go for costumes, or we would go out and that's it. And was we were barely like 16, 17, or 18, and he proposed to me, and I said yes. All he said was, "Do you want to marry me?" And I said yes. But I didn't know how to tell him, because I was very fast and I was starting to change a lot. And it was not anything bad or good or anything like that, but I was just not being myself. And they started to show me like visions and suspicions and odd changes in behavior in me, my family, and my neighbors and my friends. So we ran away from the house that we had, and my grandparents, they took down the house when they died. And my cousin, the one that would go to the park with us for Easter, he owned the house and the property. And so we didn't know him though, because it was his grandparents and his parents that would talk about the payments of the property, the rent, and the renters. We were just renters of the house. But because I had lived all my life, the first 10, 15 years there in that neighborhood, before that we were living in that house, and before they had established one of my relatives' houses there in the area, we were living there already. And I was a student there in elementary. I went to all four elementaries there in the city where we were at in Far, Texas. And so I didn't have any brothers and sisters, and I didn't have my mom and dad all the time, because I was a part-time student, and I would go home to my mom, but my dad wouldn't be there. And so we were at a park because the teachers would take us outside to do the egg hunt there at the park outside of school. And so we were there at the school, and we never had a problem wearing sandals or Power Ranger cartoon characters, or Pocahontas cartoon characters, or sandals or T-shirts or anything like that, because they had rules, but they were not very strict educational level teachers, and they didn't have uniforms that were very expensive or very hard to pay for. So we were doing really good with the dress code. But I pooped on my pants one time in the hallway, and my mom had to take some clothes. And around that time of the year, I was rushed into the hospital because I had a medical emergency, and I didn't die, but I remembered I started to get flashbacks, and they would tell me that if you get flashbacks, that it means that they're returning you back to a time of your life where you were in before. I started to have flashbacks of me in the altar, me dying at the hospital in an ICU room, and I started to remember my kids, and I started to remember that I had given birth, and that I had a son, and that I had died in a hospital bed in an ICU room. I was like, how could that be possible that that's me if I'm barely 20 years old? And I was like, what the heck? And I was getting lots of flashbacks of when I was a kid, all the way to like the age of 15, and things that I went through in my past life. And I'm like, it must have been like in a hallucination or a dream, or probably I was daydreaming or something, or maybe I'm confused. Or maybe I'm not feeling sure about what I'm doing. I'm gonna kind of lay off of the belief of Halloween and trick or treating and costumes and everything. And it's because at school they would teach us how to decorate our own baskets for the Easter eggs and the candies for Easter. And we would celebrate every year at school from pre-K all the way to fifth. And also we would celebrate at home with the family. And it wasn't always the same every year though, the celebration, but it was the Easter egg hunt for April. And so we were at a park over there. It's called Ansalduas, and I had been watching a movie. I think it was the movie Adam and Eve, not Adam and Eve, the ones from the Bible. I was talking about the Adams family, the one where there's two kids, one's a little girl and one's a little boy, and a guy that looks like Antonio Banderas, the guy that comes out in the movie Boots, the cat, and the movie The Zorro. Oh, he looks like him like that, but I don't know if it's him or another person. And we saw the movie both black and white and in color, and I wasn't supposed to, because they have some people from one time and people from another time, the year that they're from. And so we found out that there was lots of heritage and family, uh, common law and ancestry in the family and at work and at school. And I just quit my job because I knew that I was going to get in trouble, because I had this really bad feeling that somebody had been following me from school all the way to work and to the family residential. And something happened to my uncle and to my mom, and I started not to like my dad's wife, my uncle, ex-girlfriend, a new wife that he was bringing into the family, and my aunt's husband. And was my cousin. She was like a sister to me, and she celebrates in October, the first week of October. She was the only friend, the only cousin that would spend a lot of time with me from like the age of 1 all the way to like the age of 15. And at the age of 20, I had to go through a separation, like through a divorce, because of that, because my husband is also from October, from the first week. And my husband never came back after that. And so my cousin, the one that owned the house and the property, Chepito, the one from there from Edinburgh, he owned the house and the property. And they removed the house from the property, the one that my grandparents had. And so we were there at Ansalduas Park, and Chepito, my cousin, the one that owned the house, he would always go and see us there whenever he had time, but only for the Easter party. And we were there. And I had seen in the movie documentaries and documentary reports and biographies and scary acquaintances, like videos, pictures caught on camera by other people taking pictures and video recorders of surveillance cameras of acquaintances that they have of people who were appearing outside of a facility that was closed down for years, and it was known to be remembered as a hospital of the people that were psychologically sick, like people that were mentally sick. And it was a hospital that was like a 2 or 3 floor hospital, and it was based on a true story. And I don't know what the heck I was doing, but we were at the park, and I was barely going in, and I don't know. I got this feeling that I was having visions of pictures and views of places that I had seen on a video and on a movie. And I realized that the view that I had that right moment when I caught the video on camera, that it was a real story and that it was a real place, but that I hadn't remembered or thought of it. And it was the same exact hospital that came out in the movie. And it was the same exact place where I was at that they were showing on the movie or in the video. And I realized that those people were real and that the story was based on a true story, but that they put it wasn't true because it wasn't the real person behind the story. And I was very scared because they were telling me that if you needed cameras or walkie-talkies or radios or satellite radios or video recorders or a house phone or a television or a computer or something, that you're gonna have to go to Radio Shack, Target, or Best Buy, and that Walmart was not a good place to go to. That because for years they would go to see if they would find what they needed for themselves, and that everything was impossible to find, and that every time that they would go to Target or Kmart or like Sam's or like juniors, that they would find everything that they wanted. But when they would go to like HEB or Payless or Emma Rivas, that there was always a problem, that because they felt very uncomfortable, like if somebody was watching them or following them for a long time. And I was right. Somebody was watching and following, but we didn't know who it was. And so when they removed the house, when they were removing the house that we had there in Egley Street in Far, I knew that that was going to happen because somebody had been following. We just never knew who it was. And I know this because we all reported. My uncle, the one who was a teacher in Donna Redskins, reported. My mom reported. My dad, I think, reported. And my grandma reported to the police that some people that were not from the family, that we didn't even know, I don't even think they were neighbors of ours, were going into the property. We didn't even know them without permission. And I think also my uncle Cesar, or I don't know who it was, had been reporting. I also reported when I was over there in San Juan. And I told the police, I don't want these people in my house, in my property, or inside of my apartment or my house when I move out or when I'm there, because I don't trust anybody. And I've been having this problem for a long time. And they've been stealing money and stuff from my house. And I don't agree to any of that. And I want to move out so that I can start a new life. And the lady, the one that was there at the apartments where I was staying at, she was being very cold hearted, very like she was being like a stranger, like she wasn't showing any kind of interest or any kind of friendship. Like she was just there, she was being kind and friendly, but she didn't want to be friends. Like she was being very cold hearted, very different. The lady, the one that lives there in number 4. And we moved 1, 2, 3, 4 times to 4 different apartments there in that property where we were at with that neighbor in number 4 over there in San Juan. And we had to move over to Nuevo León, Mexico for 2 years, and to Reynosa for like one, but not exact, but it was something like that. And so we were there at the Ansalduas Park that time, and I recorded and I took pictures. I got very scared because I just couldn't believe that we had been in that park before, and that hospital was there, but that we hadn't noticed it. We hadn't noticed it at all. And the reason we caught on to stuff like creepy stuff and scary stuff was because of the movies that we were watching and because of my husband and my cousin. And he didn't want to be friends after that. Like, he didn't want to get back together or anything. We totally broke up. And my cousin too, she didn't want to be friends. She didn't want to be part of the family. She didn't want to be friends or anything. And I was very upset because my other cousin, she totally turned down the sleepovers, the invites, and the coming over with my other cousin for dating, for sports, for school, and for college. And I couldn't stay in school because I was always getting beaten up at the house by the family and at school by my boyfriend's ex-girlfriends and by my new boyfriend that I had. But not every day though, or all the time. But that's how bad the situation was. And he just wanted to be smoking and drinking, smoking and drinking, smoking and drinking, smoking and drinking. And so finally I got tired and I was like, dude, it's because there is somebody there, but you cannot see the person. I know what I'm telling you because I've been here in this apartment building before when I was like around the age of 12 or 13, here in this apartment building. And we never had that problem at the house. Never, mijo, never. And I know because um, I'm talking about psychological issues like becoming crazy or becoming confused or feeling alone or feeling lost or feeling depressed. Like, we didn't have those problems before. But as soon as I dated the guy from October, I started to have problems. But I never told any of my friends from school, from elementary or from middle school. I was barely getting to know them and catching up and reconnecting with them the last time I saw some of them. And now that I'm in high school level, grade 9, with the age of a college student, I cannot finish the grade levels where I left off, the points or the credits or the grade level, and I cannot go to college. And so I tripped out. I got very scared because, like, you're talking about, a mental hospital where crazy people are at. And so I was very scared because I can't fucking believe that I was there at that park before and I hadn't noticed the hospital. So I took pictures of the hospital and I recorded a video of it and everything. And I told my mom, I told her, I was like, Mom, did you know that that hospital is real? The one that they mentioned in the movie, the Adams Family. And she's like, what hospital? I was like, remember that I told you and I showed you a picture of a hospital? Well, that's the same hospital that's there down on Saldua's road, the road that is closed down. And she's like, no. She's like, where? And I was like, it's closed down. And I looked over to the road and it wasn't closed down; it was open. And they said nobody can cross over to that side because if you cross over, you'll start to see people from the hospital, people that have died, people that appeared to others that have died at that hospital before, and you will start to feel trapped in the hospital because you're not supposed to cross over. And I remember I was driving the car. I don't remember if my mom was with me or who was with me in the car. I just remember that we passed by the road and we made a U turn. Ever since that time, they always send me to the rehab. And I was so fucking scared because we had never noticed that hospital before. And it came out in the movie The Addams Family. And my aunt's last name was Adame. My mom's real biological father, his name was Andres Adame, like the word Adam and Eve, like from the Bible. But instead of it being Adam and Eve, it's Adam's family. And it's people that have the power to see a different way of life. And so I was at a lingerie store over there in, where was it? I was at a lingerie store, I think it was in Houston, and it was called Adam and Eve's. And they have over there in McAllen, they have another one. And one of my best friends, she took me over there to the Adam and Family's boutique, and they had lots of adult sex toys and adult sex lingerie and everything. But I lost something of my life when I was going through my depression and my anxiety, and when I was feeling very confused because the doctor did a procedure on me, like the employees that he has at the office had to do the women's checkup, and I didn't want to, but I had to. I was crying and I was very upset because I knew I wasn't going to survive and I knew I wasn't going to make it very far. And I did survive, but I didn't get the changes that I wanted. And it's not the way I would have wanted it to be for me because I want to go to college, to a university, and I want to buy a property and build a house, and I want to have a car and a family like everybody else. And so I was very upset. I was like, I can't believe that she did that, knowing that I was her friend and everything. And I dated her like a few times, both Adina, Melissa, and some other girl that I was dating. Oh, Amy Montañez, and some other girl. And my cousin, he never came back. None of them. I was waiting for Magali, Chapito, and Yesenia, and they never came back to the visiting, to come and visit me. And I was very scared because they kept passing me to the rehabilitation center. I went to a rehabilitation center in Harlingen for like about 3 months exactly. They fed me breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3 months, and they gave me a place to stay for 3 months over there in Harlingen, in the Harlingen State Center. And I was very happy, but there was something that was making me feel very desperate and anxious to want to go back home and desperate. I just wanted to come back home. And so I was there, and my aunt stayed at my house, at my apartment. And believe me when I tell you that she brought lots of changes to the house just by staying for a whole semester. Since when I've been having problems, since before senior year. My fiance had proposed before senior year, but we never got the wedding done or anything. And I've been by myself for a long time. And so I was very scared. I was like, something's going to happen, something's going to happen. But I was very scared because I had a bad feeling. And just the way I thought, he took down all the pregnancy possibilities, all the six possibilities that I had when I had first moved into the city of San Juan, not the apartments where I was in, the city of San Juan. And so now I'm over here in Alamo. I used to live here when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was dating Marcos Vallejos. I was dating Matthew Hernandez. And I was dating Dylan Ramirez. And I was trying to break up with Israel Guerra. And I did. And I didn't want to get back together with him after that breakup that we had. But I felt that somebody had been following me for a long time since we were over there at the Ansalduas Park and over there at school at Raiders. And it did happen, something that I thought, and I got very scared. Some guy killed a girl in high school over there in Raiders, and his dad's name, the guy that killed the girl, his dad's name was very well known in the campus and the school district because his dad was a teacher there at school where I was at when I was dating Dylan Ramirez there in far in LBJ. And so the girl died. She got killed by the guy, and the guy was related to the teacher. He was the son of the teacher, and the teacher was very well known by everybody there at the campus. And we knew something had happened because my cousin, me, and my other cousin, and some friends that we have in the neighborhood from school, they didn't come back to any of the parties that they had for school, like not at the school campus, but with the friends that we have in the neighborhood, because the schools that we went to are all part of the community, like part of the city where we come from, the neighborhood, like the neighborhood where we come from. And nobody went back to my grandparents' house like for a party or to my apartment that I had over there in Far or the house that I had here in Alamo or here in this apartment where I'm at. And things are very weird, very odd, like totally different than when I was 12 or 13 years old. And my mom would always tell me what's wrong and what's wrong and what's wrong, but because she knew that something was wrong. One of my best friends was waiting for me at the church for us to exchange numbers so we can catch up and everything. But something kept distancing me from the church, from the community church. Dude, the church is right across the house of my aunt and the school where I went to in elementary. And I kept walking away from my friends, from church, and from the family because I had a bad feeling. And that did happen to the girl. She got killed over there in high school in Raiders. The son of one of the teachers killed her. Everybody knows about that at school. And my dad's name is the same as the teacher. as the parent of the guy, but not the first name, just the last name. And my cousin's dad's name is the same as my dad's, just the first name, but not the last name. And so, so we were there, and I was falling in love with my cousin's boyfriend, but I didn't want anybody to know because I was leaving my fiance, my proposal and everything for him because I was not feeling comfortable at all, and I really wanted to talk to him and tell him how I felt. I wanted to make a run for it to his house so he can know that somebody was following, and I never made it to his house. And my friend kept calling and calling and calling and messaging and messaging and messaging for hours, for days, for weeks, I think even months, and I never went to his house. I don't know, like something just totally flipped me out and I started to change. I started to change a lot and I was falling in love with my friend, but I didn't want anybody to know because I was feeling confused, lost and depressed because something happened to him and my other friend Israel, and I had broken up with Israel, but we got back together in high school. And in the report of the documentation of his passing, because he died, and the other one died too, the one from far. One of them died of an asthma attack, which is Israel, the one I broke up with, and the other one died in a motorcycle accident. But he's the one. He's from far, from there, from the school of far, from the yeah, he was from far, from the school of far, where they killed the girl. And he was my neighbor. He lived like a few streets away from me. We both grew up in the same neighborhood, but we met like around the age of 12 or 13 or 11, like around that time. No, like the age of 12 or 13. And they removed my house that I had there in the area. But it wasn't really mine with money or paperwork or anything, but that's where we were living at. And so he had his accident, and I couldn't go to his burial or the funeral or to his house or anything. I didn't believe anything because there's some people that lie a lot about the information and they just do it for the money. And so yeah, so they did do that, what I thought. And so I was making a run for it. I was gonna run to my husband, my fiance's house, and I just didn't know how to do to go back to him, and I couldn't. And I kept trying to go back, and I couldn't. I would pass by there, and I would try to park outside so I could get off, y no podía. Y luego yo le dije, I already knew something was gonna happen because I don't trust anyone in the family. I don't trust anyone. If they couldn't take care of me when my grandparents were there, menos con mis friends y mis cousins, because my grandparents were the oldest and they were more educated and had more experience than us. And we were barely like the age of 12, 13 when we met Israel and Nicolas. And so I broke up with Jesus because of that, because he wasn't being a boyfriend material and he wasn't being a good person since we were at his house. So we broke up, but I didn't want to break up or anything because I wanted to make a run for it. I wanted to go back to him. And but this was in high school. So the last people that I saw when I was doing okay, like around the time that they retired me, unemployed me, and disabled me was Danny Vega, Aaron Aguiano, Earl, esta Magali Gonzalez, I think Emiliano, Vanessa Shorty, and Erica Ruiz, and Felipe, Samantha and Sabrina Gutierrez, Christopher and Steve Fuentes. Only those were there, but I didn't talk to all of them. Only to Danny and Marcos Vallejos, Danny Vega, and Aaron Aguiano. I was talking to those three the last time that I was there, but they retired me, unemployed me, and disabled me there at Memorial Wolverines. And we were like in high school, and I had seen Matthew Hernandez and in high school, and I think I had seen Israel. No, I think it was Matthew. Yeah, it was Matthew Hernandez, Melissa Rodriguez, and my cousin Magali Gonzalez. And I think I saw Edgar, Louis, David, Jake, and Joel. But I wasn't with them all at the same time, like at the same hour or the same room or the same time. Like it was just around the time that I was there at school. Like after school, in between classes, in the cafeteria, like when they take you to the garden, to the playground, and like when we were after school or after classes, going in between classes to a different classroom in the hallway. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is up with that? And because the guy killed the girl, some guy from over there from far, and he is the son of a teacher, and my dad was a custodian or a janitor, but we didn't know from what school because my dad left us when I was like 5 years old, and my uncle was also a teacher, and he had the same name as my dad, but a different last name. But he wasn't working there. But all his residentials from his mom and dad, his brothers and sisters, his nephews, his nieces, his cousins, and all his family was for even him and his whole family. All of them were from there from far. And my dad was way the fuck over there, over here in Alamo. I was like, what the fuck is my dad doing there in Alamo? I was being suspicious because I didn't feel comfortable at all. But my cousin got in a lot of trouble with her dad and with her mom, and she didn't want to be friends anymore because she was dating girls from the age of like 12, 13, 14, all the way to like the age of 18. And not only that, but she was also dating guys. And the dad was pissed off because he didn't like me when I went over there to the house. He was telling me off really badly, the dad. And pues I had to get into bed with someone from his school so I could go and investigate why he didn't want to help with the school stuff and all that stuff. Y le pasaron todo lo de baseball que me iban a dar a mí for softball team al hijo de Yulisa. And Yulisa came out pregnant when she was like 13. I was like, dude, I would have already fucking gotten married. I would have already gotten a ring and everything. But I can't because I had to leave my relationship. And Israel también kept calling me and calling me and calling me and messaging me and messaging me. I never went to his house because after the last time that we talked, that I was gonna go and see him, I just couldn't, mijo, no sé. I just couldn't. And yeah, and Roberto was fucking pissed. He even killed a fucking animal and he fed it to the family there at the house. Jackie knows about that. Yesenita knows about that. And I was there when he did that. But I went back inside and I didn't want to talk about it with anybody. And pues my fiance had proposed to me in high school, pero pues nunca se hizo la pinche wedding ni nada. We broke up. Y pues I was very mad because of that, porque nunca me regresó nada para atrás. Y entonces pues sí, pues that's why I was telling you to be careful because you don't know who might be following you, who might be there with you, or what intention they might have. And so yeah, so we were there at the Ansel Lewis Park, and I remember that I had seen that mental institute facility. It's like kind of like for the people that are crazy, that are mentally sick. And I got really scared because I had never noticed the building. And they crossed me over to that side. I was fucking scared. I knew that they were gonna do some shit to me because every time I go like to a celebration in the family or like at work or something, it doesn't feel the same anymore. And I was like, fuck no, you better fucking return me back to the house. And he was fucking following me the whole fucking time. I was like, dude, it better have been you and not the other guy, because the other guy doesn't fucking like me for shit. And that's why I was fucking making a run for it over there at the house. I fucking made a run for it like in a snap of a finger. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you were doing over there, dude, but I was pretending that everything was okay because I was planning my way out. And I did get the fuck out of there, like in a snap of a finger, because I made a run for it. If not, I wouldn't have survived. He's from October, dude. He's like not friendly at all. Neither is Yesenita. So be careful. No, they really are like that. The personality. That's why I was telling you to be careful. She hasn't came to visit, bro, since they've disabled me. She hasn't fucking came to visit for shit. She always treats me like if I'm a friend or family, but in front of other people. But when we're by ourselves, she ignores me like real gacho. Like she treats me like a nobody. Like if she doesn't know me, like if she's not from the family and stuff. Like by now, dude, she should already be coming to visit Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and not with the whole family, just by herself, like with the way that she used to before. But como no quiere la amistad ni nada, por eso no viene para la casa. And no offense to you, but I would rather invite Magali than her, because I don't trust her, like for shit. Especially because she left me by myself with her mom and her mom's girlfriend for a long time. Yeah, by now, mija, I would have already been in college, married, with kids and everything. I have never had a car or a house or a property or anything. That's why I was telling you to be careful. You don't ever know what their intention is. I'm going to be moving out. I don't know by when, but I'm going to move out because I want to go back with Raul and Roberto over there in FAR. I don't want to be here. I don't know what the fuck you were doing or what the fuck you were thinking, but when I tell you that I made a run for it, I really mean that I was running from someone when I said that. So be careful.